Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're here with a recent Wildlife Ed Experience group that had a fantastic time out in South Africa, and we're ready to have a little chat with them about how the trip was, all the stuff that they got involved with, and all the amazing things we did. Just to get us started, let's have a quick video summary just to show some of the things they did. Check this out. Amazing. So welcome, everyone. Hey, Laura. Hey, Hannah. Hey, James. Hey, Abby. Hey, Ayla. Hey, Grace. Hey, Millie. Hey, May. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm looking forward to getting the conversation started. So, Laura, you kind of helped get this group together. Not everyone could make it tonight for this live stream, but those that did make it tonight are going to have a little conversation with you and share some of their experiences. So you managed to get 14 people together, which is amazing work, and well done on doing that. Tell me about that journey, first of all, of getting the group together and then having the chats with everyone and some of the sort of expectations before you left to go out to South Africa.
Yeah, so we wanted to kind of get a group together. Most of these trips run over our summer, which is South Africa's winter, because it's a bit cooler, but because with April cohort at Nottingham, we don't get much time off in summer, and none of us want to do placement in our 3 weeks off. So I thought if we got enough people together, all of us, it would be feasible for you guys to put on a trip for us. And so that meant that the trip we went on was a collaboration between the Expedition Project and SAWorldVets, and it was unique in that sense. Like, nobody had been on this specific trip before, which meant that it was hard to tell people like exactly what we were going to be doing. And there's obviously this whole thing of any trip that can tell you, oh, you're going to be doing this on this day and this on this day, isn't as ethical, just because you're working with wild animals, and so realistically it's not going to be that straightforward. So we kind of knew vaguely what we were getting ourselves in for. We knew we'd be going to South Africa and we'd get to see some cool animals and do some vet work, shadowing one of the vets. But I didn't realize just how much vet work we would be doing and how much time we'd be spending with him, and how, willing he would be to talk to us and answer all our questions and things like that. And also how much fun extra stuff we got to do, go to different rehab centers in Kruger and things like that. But it was very much a case of we all kind of turned up, and on the first night we were told like, oh, this is what's happening tomorrow. And then the next night we'd be told this is what's happening tomorrow. Like, you kind of took each day as it came, really. But I don't know if everyone else was expecting, because obviously I was more involved in the planning and stuff, but yeah,
it sounds like a really good summary. Thank you so much. And Hannah, before you sort of left, and once you got planning with all this kind of stuff, how were you feeling before you left? Were you nervous? Were you scared? Were you excited? Was it everything?
I was really excited because I'd seen people in the year above us sort of go and sort of the pictures that they'd come back with. So I thought it was going to be amazing. And then I got there and we sat down with the vet and he briefed us over everything. And that was the first time I was a little bit nervous and thought maybe I'm slightly out of my depth here. But it ended up being like more than I ever could have expected it to be.
Oh, amazing, amazing. And tell us a little about the journey, James. What about getting there? And, was it quite difficult to travel out from the UK today? It was very straightforward.
I found it pretty straightforward, to be honest. I mean, most of us flew with BA, in the end, and that's sort of direct into Johannesburg, and then sort of a little layover there, and then a flight up to Hoedspruit, where we got picked up by Razzie and Victor. So it was pretty nice for us, pretty plain sailing. It was the first sort of long haul flight I'd done without my family. So yeah, that was a bit nerve wracking to begin with, but the nerves went away very quickly. However, I know Ayla and Millie had some other travelling issues. They sort of want to talk about that.
No, it was just a little bit of a busy one in Johannesburg. So
it's needlessly stressful. We stopped we took the Emirates flight from the UK to Dubai, and we stopped over there because I have family there, thinking it would make it simpler. But then the flight in Johannesburg that took us to Johannesburg left us only 2 hours in Johannesburg before having to catch the connection to Hoedspruit, which I think could have been enough. But I think there was another flight coming in at that time at Johannesburg, so the queue at the border control was really long, and we weren't going to make it if we weren't ushered through the airport by a very kind member of staff. You probably saw my face and panicked.
I did.
Yeah, we made it.
I think I might have to take some blame for that, because I think before the trip and everything, I was telling you how unfortunately how unreliable BA had been, and probably best to take anyone other than BA. Most of you guys took BA and you're absolutely fine, and then the guys that didn't ended up having all the delays. I'm so sorry about that.
Well, what's ironic is that on the way back, the first flight out of Johannesburg was also delayed, so we missed our connection in Dubai, and so the whole return was also 24 hours late.
Oh my
So
God.
we'll just stay clear of Johannesburg Airport from now on.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, no, it's quite funny in hindsight.
It was funny.
I'm glad to see the funny side of it, and sorry, it really seems to be hit and miss with flights these days, though. I'm glad most of you that are traveling BA, that was actually working, and all of that. So Grace,
nicely, because we kind of obviously on the way there we were all kind of traveling separately. We were just with our in our little pairs or whatever. But when we got to Johannesburg, we did end up kind of finding each other, and then sat with each other in the airport for however many hours we were there, which was quite nice, and it meant that we weren't wandering around the airport by ourselves.
And Grace, when you arrived in Johannesburg for the first time, as your first impression of Joburg and all of that and the airport, was that what you were expecting?
I think I was expecting a very busy, big airport and being a bit stressed because we were flying without our parents for the first time. But when we got there, everyone was so nice, and all the staff in the airport, all the other people in the airport were really friendly, really helpful. And yeah, it was all very easy, I thought, and I was expecting to be very, very stressed, and I wasn't.
It's good to know. They say the people make a place, so that is good. Good to know. And Abby, the contrast between Johannesburg and then getting to Hoedspruit Airport, being the tiny airport that Hoedspruit is, how did that feel?
Weird. It was like going from a huge airport to somewhere that's the same size as your house. It was weird because it was just literally you walk out and then you're at the baggage claim and you take your bags and you're done. You don't have to walk through anywhere like you do here, and it's so different.
Well, so for those of you watching, it's obviously Johannesburg Airport, very big, busy airport, international airport, one of the busiest airports in Africa. And then Hoedspruit, one of the smallest airports in South Africa, really small, to where all the students were working, and it's a quick domestic flight. Probably an hour, not even an hour, 50 minutes, I think it is, from Joburg to Hoedspruit. So it's a really quick and easy, and a great way, to get to another part of South Africa really quickly, and right on the border of Kruger National Park. So very famous sort of part of South Africa, and very good part of South Africa to do exactly what these sort of aspiring vets got to do. So moving on, if that's okay. So May, you guys got picked up by Victor and Razzie and moved on to your accommodation. What were your first impressions once you could actually get into the place and got to accommodation and could unpack your bags and all that kind of stuff? How did it feel then?
Yeah, no, it was amazing. Just walking hotel, it just was all so pretty, and they had just so many different parts of they had like exhibitions all in the hotel as well. Just kind of made it feel a lot more real. They'd have like taxidermy animals, just really made you feel like you're in South Africa out in the wild. And yeah, just the pools and everything was just incredible.
Nice, nice. So, I mean, that's, I suppose, the little introduction of getting there and everything. I get we getting to the crux of it now, the interesting stuff. So, I mean, Laura, you introduced it a little bit about, you know, some of the stuff that you got to do and an overview of all the work and everything. Why did you guys talk a little bit about, you know, the introductions, the first time you met Dr. Boshoff, and he got to tell you about some of the work that you had planned for the week. And Hannah, you also mentioned briefly, you know, all of a sudden it started to, you know, hit home about what you were going to do and how scary all of a sudden that sounded and everything. But, you know, his first sort of introduction to you about all the work you're going to do, what were some of your feelings? How did you feel about all of that? And then as the week got started, you want to start us off, Laura?
I'm not gonna lie, he was quite intimidating on that first night. Which I think I remember I said to maybe Hannah or someone at one point, he's kind of like the farmers you come across on placement, where at first...
Yeah, you said that to me and I said definitely. Yeah. He's got that kind of air about him where you respect him, but he's a little bit scary at the same time.
Yeah. But then once you get to know him, he's so much fun, and it's just kind of getting used to him, his personality. But yeah, we kind of sat down and his wife Nina talked us through everything, all the like diseases that you can get and things like that, and kind of how everything was going to work. And then he came and just he explained about how he does things, how like there will be some courses that let you do certain things, but he prefers not to do those things with students because technically they're illegal. Like he said, we can take blood, but we can't do IV injections and things like that just because of legislation. So he explained all that to us. And yeah, he just kind of explained about how he can't tell us exactly what's going to be happening each day, and things can really change because they're wild animals that you're working with. But he'll try and, you know, make sure that we're all getting even amounts of stuff done. But yeah, it was weird all being sat around listening to him being like, oh my god, we're about to start doing this.
Yeah, I think I agree. That's why I said that was the first time I felt nervous, because he was telling us all this stuff and I was sat with all these people that I didn't really know, and there was, you know, a kind of suddenly realization that I don't actually know anything about this, and but it was such a steep learning curve in like the best way possible. It was really nice. And like Bozzy is he's fantastic, and you can tell he really enjoys teaching as well. Every night we'd have a Q&A, sat around the fire pit and stuff, and he'd answer all the questions that we had throughout the day. You know, he's really great.
So moving through that first week, why don't James, do you want to tell us a bit about some of the things you did in that first week, some of the animals and the different species you worked with, and yeah, some of the things you got to do?
Yeah, so the first week we kind of split the groups in two, so we had a bit more time up with Bozzy to work a bit more individually. So our group got to work with like buffalo and sable, some roan as well, which was great fun. Obviously, you know, buffalo being one of the big five was something I was really excited to do, and I think everyone else was really excited to get to work with them. You know, we've got cows over here in the UK, but yeah, the buffalo are something else certainly. So that was great fun, like driving around in the pickup, sort of looking for them in the bush. It was brilliant. You know, we got to do some like injections, and working alongside Bozzy was fantastic, and being out in the countryside, yeah, no, it was great. We also got to go to like some endangered species centres, which was really interesting to see. Got to feed the cheetah and see how they're all kept. We got to meet some rhino as well, and southern ground hornbill. So that was all really fun. It was wonderful that first week. It was a great introduction to sort of the wildlife veterinary side of things. And yeah, no, it was great. No complaints from me at all. It was wonderful.
Cool, thank you. So Abby, in between all of this, you were getting chauffeured around and shown around by Victor and Razzie, and then they sort of looked after you guys and probably held the whole trip together by making sure you got up and got to where you needed to go and had everything you need. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the role that they played in the trip?
Oh, they played a much bigger role than I expected them to. Like, I didn't know they'd be doing all that. I think Hannah said, was it you that said that as well?
Yeah, like we didn't realise what an impact
Yeah.
they'd have on the whole trip.
They were brilliant. Like, they played a huge part in the trip. Like, we made some great memories with them, and they just did a really good job of getting us, not only getting us from A to B, but like making us have a laugh and like just made it a really great experience.
I don't think I'll ever forget Razzie's dancing.
I think Razzie let us DJ if we wanted to in the car, so that was, you know,
karaoke sessions.
I think it was on the way back when we were all really upset and we were just
Sorry
even Razzie cried a little bit because we were all so sad.
Yeah, on the way
Grace, you cried a lot.
Played the saddest playlist they could find.
Oh, brilliant! And what about you know, you had to do a lot of driving within this trip to get from reserve to reserve and go and meet Bossy where he was and get from the lodge and other places, which is quite realistic for being a wildlife vet in South Africa. And you do have to travel big distances generally if you live in South Africa, but if you're a wildlife vet, you are traveling, you know, from A to B a lot. How did you guys feel about that as a job and having to have those early starts and get home late and all of that? You know, Millie, do you want to tell us a little bit about like what that kind of felt like, you know, having to be in the car so much?
Yeah, I mean, we were such a kind of a close-knit group by the end of it that it was quite fun, the trips in the cars, especially when we had all the music blaring and we were spotting elephants and hippos on the way to different call-outs. So I think we all quite enjoyed the long trips, and the early starts meant we weren't so much in the midday sun, so it was quite nice to avoid the heat. And then if it got too hot, we'd just come home and have a wee dip in the pool and cool off. No, nice. I think we all adjusted quite happily to the way of life.
Yeah, the sea was amazing as well from the car, like the mountains and stuff.
Mm-hmm. It was
nice. And Ayla, so you guys got to spend a bit of time, you know, as James mentioned briefly, you know, at some endangered species centres, and you had two examples of that while you were there to get a sense of what was in the area and what some of the different types of, you know, conservation work that was happening outside of what, you know, Dr. Boschop does. What were your sort of experiences of those places?
I quite liked that we got to see the behind the scenes, because obviously we came as a group of vet students. They didn't give us the like the regular tours they give all the other tourists. So the fact that we got to see and help with the preparing of the meat for the cheetahs wasn't to everyone's liking, but I think it's quite interesting to see the amount of work that goes into keeping these animals like fit and healthy and ticking along. Like it's not like the animals we're used to here. So in a way, it's quite nice to also see the husbandry side of it, because it's so new and different to us. And it's also something we'd never do elsewhere. Like if we go as a tourist somewhere else, they probably won't let us see the behind the scenes like we got to see there. So it was really interesting. And to be fair, it was also like it really added to the trip, despite being maybe a little bit less vet orientated than when we go out with Bossy. It definitely adds to it.
Mm-hmm. I found it really interesting to like learn about the whole like rehabilitation process and how they pick like which animals are going to be released and what makes an animal not able to be released. And then also they taught us like a lot about poaching and why animals are killed in the first place. So I definitely thought it was a valuable experience.
Yeah, I didn't realize vulture poisoning was really a thing. And when we were at Maholo Holo, while we were there, they had to go out to like a poisoning case, like they were packing up the truck and stuff to go out to this poisoning. So it was really interesting to hear about.
I didn't realize it was so common, like, and just how many you can kill in one go, like how big of an impact you can have on the vulture population so quickly.
Speaking of that, I mean, May, did you feel like, you know, just within that first week, you suddenly got a sense of how complicated conservation can be and how complicated wildlife conservation can be, and all those little elements, you know, that play a part of it, and all the different people that play a part of it, and organizations that play a part of it, and all of that. And it's quite a complicated thing, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. So we were quite lucky. On our first day, we went to Maholo Holo. So they talked us through a lot of like the issues and things that go on in Africa, like the poaching and the poisoning. So I think that was really good to learn like quite early on, because then when we were like going out and about, we could kind of look out for vultures and things like that, which I didn't realize were so rare. I thought you'd see them a lot more commonly. So yeah, it was really good to learn like all of that quite early on in our trip.
Cool. And then towards the end of the first week, I think it was, you guys were at Halo, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Grace, tell us a little bit about that experience. I mean, that was something completely different once again. What was that like?
Yeah, I'd never done anything like, not the vet work we'd done before, but not knowing the previous history of the dogs, or
Give a little introduction to what Halo is.
So Halo is an outreach project that they do every Saturday for the dogs in the villages, that for the people that can't afford any veterinary care. So we went with the Halo team and did health checks, vaccinations, flea and worming treatment, and then just talking, educating the owners of the animals as well. For the morning, we did that. I think we treated it, was it 150 dogs or something like that? Yeah, and it was really nice to think that we were learning at the same time, but helping those people so much that, yeah, like that, it was just really nice to do, to help people.
And I think it was quite useful there, because our group was kind of split into 2 years. And so for some people, it was their first like clinical placement, and they hadn't done like run their own consults or vaccinations and things. So it's a really good way to do that for the first time, because you don't have, I feel like it's slightly less pressure in that setting than if you're doing it in a vet practice at home. It's kind of, we have something similar at uni, not on that scale at all, but it's kind of giving free veterinary care to like vulnerable people, and it is a really good way of kind of getting confident in doing vaccinations and general health checks and stuff. And yeah, it was really fun.
Nice. And then, so to round up that first week, you had a little excursion for your day off. Did it feel like you needed a day off, first of all, by the time you got to that, after those early starts, or were you guys being strong at that point?
I think it didn't. I didn't feel like we needed a day off. We had Saturday afternoon off after Halo. So, I mean, the early morning with Kruger did not feel like a day off, but we had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. But I think a lot of people would say that was their favorite day, because we saw so much stuff in one day. We saw like elephants and lions, like a lioness with her cubs, and hippos. My brain's gone blank now. I can't think of anything else. But
yeah, lots of giraffe.
Oh,
was it what you were hoping it was going to be? Like, I mean, Kruger's such a famous place, obviously.
I think, well, as soon as we got there, we saw lions, and it was just like surreal. You know, I was like, I can't believe I'm looking at this.
Yeah, and we got so close up to multiple elephants as well, which was absolutely amazing. Just seeing them so close, it was so cool.
Oh, amazing. And there was a few places you could go, sort of, you know, wild swimming and stuff like that as well, you know, in between all of that. Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, that
was great. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we went to these like waterfalls, and it was so much. We did it kind of in the morning, and then we went and met Bossy for the afternoon. And And it was just so much fun, like sliding down the rocks and swimming in the water and stuff. It was great.
Be careful of leeches.
Oh,
And snakes.
Oh,
Yeah.
One after many treats. So in between all of this, obviously you had really nice accommodation, which you mentioned. Just before we head into week 2, what about, some of the food that you got to experience maybe for the first time, or South African style of cooking, or all of that kind of stuff? What were some of your experiences with that? I don't know who wants to talk about that, James.
No, I really like the food. It was very nice to come home like after a hard day's work to have like a nice warm meal made for you. So I really enjoyed that. If I'm honest, I can't remember what most of the meals were called, but they all tasted really good, and I sort of finished everything. And I can't speak for the vegetarians and the vegans, but their food looked really nice. I didn't eat it, but it looked really nice as well. We had breakfasts most like every morning, and a few days we had warm breakfasts, and they were really nice. And we sort of had our breakfast meals packaged up for those really early starts, so we could sort of eat it on the go. I thought the food was fantastic.
Do the vegetarians or vegans want to add into their meals?
I had a vegetarian option, and to be fair, it was really nice, and I felt like you weren't missing out on stuff because you were vegetarian. To be fair, sometimes, when they say they cater for all types of dietary requirements, they don't really, but here it was really, really good, and you felt like you weren't being ostracized because you didn't eat meat or anything like that, so it was good. Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Okay. So, and in between all of that, probably a lot of springbokkies you had just to keep things going.
Yeah.
But anyone want to explain for those that won't know what those are in the audience, what that is?
Millie?
I can't remember what went in it, but it went
Millie didn't even like them.
Abby, it was your idea, wasn't it? The spring
Yeah, it was like cream de menthe or something like that, and then amarula. It was like baby Guinness but minty.
Yeah.
It's like an after 8.
Yeah.
After 8 and a drink. Yeah. So amarula is a famous. It's the South African version of Bailey's, but it's the famous story around amarula is that it's originally a fruit that used to fall off the tree or get eaten off the tree by sort of monkeys and elephants, and they used to get drunk by eating this fruit, and then people started to see this and think, oh, this fruit must be quite good, and then they turned that into alcohol, and the famous amarula came about, and then that got turned into springbokkies, which, as the guy said, is amarula and a little bit of pepper liqueur or creme de menthe on top, which has that after 80 kind of taste, really popular in South Africa. So moving on to week 2, was that pretty much the same kind of format? Did you do a lot of the same kind of things? Although I think there was one very exciting thing that happened at the start, right at the beginning of week 2. I don't know who wants to tell us about that exciting experience.
I'll give it a go. So Tuesday we got to go off to a rhino farm, and we got to work with the rhinos, which was absolutely amazing. So the vet obviously went up in the helicopter, started them, and we were sort of just scurrying about on the ground in our vehicles looking for the rhino. And when we eventually sort of tracked him down, got out of the car, and got to do a bit of work with them, sort of give some injections and trim their horns, which was an amazing experience in and of itself, just to be that close to a rhino and to a rhino calf, but then to actually be able to do some vet stuff and to know you're helping out with such an amazing species. It was genuinely, it was amazing. Very special moment, I think, for everybody. And the farmer, Pete Warren, who we worked with, was lovely as well, answered all of our questions, took a lot of time out of his day to speak to us. So yeah, I was, for me, the best day of the trip, and I think a lot of people would also say that.
And it was so interesting to have those discussions about rhino horn trimming and kind of breeding of rhinos and conservation of rhinos in general, because I think there's a whole side to it that you just don't really understand as a tourist, and you don't really understand. Kind of in my head before I came to South Africa, I thought that most conservation was done by these big charities and stuff, whereas actually a lot of like the work that these private game reserves do is really important for conservation, and it's just a much more nuanced topic than it seems. And so having those discussions, like we had really long discussions about it with the rhino farmer and with Bossy afterwards, it was really insightful and really interesting.
It's a lot more complex than.
Sorry, go on. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say it's a lot more complex than we get taught in England.
Mm.
And I don't think you can understand it until someone who does that kind of stuff explains it to you. Because as soon as Posy explained it to us, it made complete logical sense, and it was like, well, why are we not doing that then?
So do you feel like your impressions were changed now, you know, before and then after, and
Yeah.
you feel like you can now explain that to people a bit more?
Mhm.
Millie, do you feel like, you know, like now after that experience that you know exactly why, and you could tell anyone the reasons why, and all those kind of things?
Yeah, I think it really helped open our eyes to kind of the realities out in South Africa and why they're doing certain types of conservation work. And yeah, it wasn't as we'd seemed over in the UK, and like how it was actually run on these private kind of farms out there. And yeah, it was really interesting to find that out.
I mean, it's an experience that I think you'll now realize that is so rare what you did, and not many people can say that they got as up close and personal, let alone up close and personal, but also got to do what you got to do, which is amazing. Grace, do you want to give a very brief overall summary of what the procedure was, you know, when you were with the rhinos, and why that was done?
So Ozzy would go up in the helicopter and he would find the rhinos, and then they'd try and like not scare them, but make them run out of the bushes a bit onto the tracks so that we could see them, because the bushes were so thick that nobody could see these rhinos unless they were like 6 foot in front of you. And then we would all be sat in the jeeps behind on the back with everyone else that was helping to try and track down these rhinos and find them. And then once the drugs had started working a bit and they were a bit more docile, we'd all get out and then go and find them in the bush. And then once they were like immobilized, we'd have to make sure that they were still breathing, and then like hold their heads up a bit, and then they'd come and cut the horns off, and then we'd give them some injections, and then they'd wake them back up really quickly because it's so dangerous for them to be tranquilized for so long. Yeah, and then we got a couple of pictures, and then they were awake and ran off.
Amazing. How did that feel, May, being a part of that experience?
Yeah, no, it was so cool. You just like get up really close to the rhino and hold the horn afterwards and just touch the rhino itself. It just, yeah, no, it was just so cool.
Oh, amazing. Cool. Thanks, guys, for sharing all of that. And then the rest of week 2, any other highlights anyone wants to mention or bring up that sort of happened in that second week?
The darting practical was pretty amazing. And the fact that we did that the afternoon of the rhino just made that whole day even more special. And just because we were back at the lodge, it felt a bit more chill in a way. So Bossy like passed his darts around and explained how they all worked. And then he showed us 2 different types of darting guns. And he got us to, so he explained how they work and how you calibrate it based on the distance to your target. So he did the first one telling us exactly how it was, and he calibrated the gun and everything to get us practicing where to aim to actually hit the target. And then he moved the pig, this was a fake pig target, way off to where we didn't know how far away it was. And he asked us to calibrate the gun, so it felt a bit daunting at first because it was like, well, no idea how to do this properly. And but it gave us more of an idea of how it would be in the bush, because like you never know when you meters away from you it is. So yeah, and it was loads of fun, and having the whole group there, and Boss is just so much fun to work with anyway, especially in a more chill setting when he's not worrying about an animal's breathing or heart rate or anything. So it was an amazing afternoon.
It was a really great atmosphere as well because we were all cheering each other on, and when someone got the hit, we were all going yay.
You sound like you're a really good group, actually, really supporting each other. Who was the best shot out of all of that?
Not James. Was it?
The important thing is everybody hit the target. So.
Every female hit the target.
I hit the target on my second.
Right.
I think Shelley won the long distance one.
Yeah.
So she got to stay in the helicopter longer than everyone else on there when we did it out of a helicopter.
Nice. So then when you actually got to doing it out of a helicopter, I don't know if before I get to that, is there anything else between doing that darting practice and the end of the week that you want to talk about before I move on to the helicopter darting?
So when we went to Mahalo Holo, at the vet clinic there, we got to see a baby hippo that had come in and sort of talk to the vets about how they were looking after that. So that was a sort of unexpected surprise for some of us. And that was really cool and a really unique opportunity as well. Sort of, one of those cases where you don't know what's going to happen in wildlife medicine. So pretty cool.
And the guy at Mahalo Holo was really good. Like the guy who was showing us around, he was really nice.
Nice. And actually, what we haven't spoken about, I think this might have been the first week. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the necropsy you did. Was that it, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was on the second day, like in the evening.
Completely mentioned that. Quite a big deal.
Yeah, it was a older calf that had died, and it was quite intense. Like Bossy was kind of quizzing us, and in the moment your knowledge of anatomy just seems to leave your brain. It was really fun. Like I've never done a necropsy before, and everybody kind of got to get stuck in and with the knife, and it was like a brain parasite essentially, and that was something that we don't have in the UK, and so we were learning new things as well, and that was really fun. It was quite hard work, but it was good.
Sure, you can go back and teach your lecturers now. Perfect, guys. Rounding up that first week after the baby hippo. Anything else that we might have forgotten? Grace, am I forgetting anything? I think.
I don't think so. We did a lot, but I think
to the reptile place.
We did.
So much going on. Sorry, guys.
That was really good. I think I learned more about reptile medicine in a few hours with the vet than I have learnt in uni so far. So it was really interesting. And we saw a necropsy on a snake as well, which was cool.
Yeah, it was quite nice as well because she sort of sat us down, gave us lectures, and then at the end of the day, we were given a very nice certificate about our reptile course. So that was very good. That was really interesting, and it's just another sort of thing that you don't really get to see back in the UK. So more opportunities for us as a group.
Did anyone tally up how many species you ended up working with in the end?
You did, Hannah, didn't you?
I tried. I lost count after a while, but I did tally it up. I wrote it in my phone for the first 10 days.
Oh, amazing. I bet it must have been pretty high. And to be honest, more varied than most of these experiences you'll get, the different species that you're jumping across, from mammals to reptiles and all sorts.
Yeah, I know we quizzed Bossy so much on the drugs he was giving to all the different species and stuff.
I've got 3 phone screens. It was 1 week.
Amazing. So what, are we talking at least 30 different species?
Yeah, I think so. Well, day 1, we landed on the Sunday, and before we'd even started work, we already saw 8 different species. So
good stuff.
Came out of the airport when we got there, and we saw an elephant immediately. So that was really exciting.
Oh my God! Wow. Sure, pretty incredible. So thank you so much, guys. Let's have a quick, just to round that up, what you got to do on your very last your very last day, just before it was the sad time that you had to leave, and obviously not say goodbye to South Africa because there's no such thing as goodbye, just until next time. But before that all happened, you managed to do this. Let's have a look at this. Amazing. So who wants to talk me through the conversion of doing the on the ground to moving up into the helicopter and doing it for real? How did that feel? Abby, do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah, it was quite scary to begin with going up, but then when you're up there it was really exciting, and it was weird that you just like kind of hung out of the door to shoot down. It was like something you'd never be able to do again. It was amazing.
Did you manage to hit the target?
Yeah.
Oh,
all the girls managed to hit the target.
Just again. Oh, yeah. And how did if you said Shelley was the best shot in, when you're on the ground, how did she end up doing when she was in the helicopter?
She managed to do all but one, I think it was.
Very good. Very
good.
So
she did pretty well. I don't think I could have lasted that long up there.
I can't remember who shot the best at the target though.
I think it was Nia.
Was it Nia?
No.
I think it was.
Who didn't?
Who didn't?
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah, you hit
I wasn't going to bring
the
it up,
ants on the ground.
I hit the ants. Gave them veterinary care.
But it was easier than I thought it would be to go from the ground up into the helicopter. Like the pilot of the helicopter was amazing, and she was able to keep it really steady. And yeah, it's not. Before I went on the trip, I was saying to my parents like, "Oh, I don't know if I'll be able to get in a helicopter," but it's just like a roller coaster. Like it's not. I don't like. There were a couple of people who were nervous, but I think everybody really enjoyed it when they actually went up.
So the step up from that is next time you go, and obviously not quite maybe shooting a real animal yet, but the step up is moving target from a helicopter and seeing how you do from that next time.
I have to get someone to wear a target on the back and run around.
Probably James, seems he's missing everything anyway. So that was your last day, and then a few hours later you were getting on a plane to fly back to Joburg, and then Joburg back home again, and for some of you to Cape Town. But so how did that feel when you now were rounding up everything and those 2 weeks had flown by? What were some of those feelings, Ayla?
It felt really, really like such a good end to the trip. And there's one thing also, just before we started the practical, we were on the farm and we actually had an African wildcat just sort of walk up to us. And even Bossy was shocked because they're really rare. And he was like, you're not supposed to even be able to, he didn't expect us to even see one on this trip. And the fact that it just wandered over on that very last day sort of made it that little bit more special. And then going off, I feel like doing that helicopter practical hours before going to the airport made that day feel less sad in a way, because we were busy doing something really fun up until the very end and making the most of it. And then it sort of, you didn't have time to think about how sad you were to leave, not until we actually got to the airport. But yeah, it was really, really special.
Oh, nice. So I'd love to go around to all of you now and just ask you the same question, if that's okay, and just get your answers. And there's a couple of questions I'd like to ask you, if that's okay. The first one is, was there anything that you really, and I think some of you have mentioned it, but maybe just to sort of say it again and highlight it again, was there anything that you really went out of your comfort zone with, and that you're so happy that you did, and now that you've done it, it's made you feel much more confident, in doing something like that again, or in the general sense as well? I don't know if you want to start, Laura, if it's something comfort zone wise.
Obviously, the helicopter was one. I think also the necropsy, like part of what I did was skinned this cow, and I've never done anything like that before. But you were just kind of, you want to prove yourself, especially because it was like right at the start of the trip, and so you still wanted to like impress Bossy and impress other people, and you just kind of do it and get stuck in. So yeah, I think if you are nervous about something, there's not too much time to think about it. Like with the helicopter, Abby and I were lucky enough to go up in a helicopter the week before, and Bossy was just like, "Oh, Laura's going up," and I was like, "Oh." But you just don't really get enough time to think about.
So
like,
confident.
I wouldn't have done it if he hadn't told me I was doing it. So yeah.
Oh wow, amazing, well done. Hannah, do you want to take over from there?
I think I'd probably have to say the helicopter as well, just because I've never done anything like that ever in my life before. And then I guess there were a few moments where I was a bit like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing here. But like Laura said, there's no time to think, so you just did it. And then afterwards you were thinking, I can't believe I've just done that. That's so crazy. So not anything like big really. And I'm so glad that I ended up like going on the helicopter because like it was amazing.
Cool. How about you, James?
I was very lucky in that I got to do some alligator handling at one of the farms. And you know, we don't have a lot of alligators in the UK. In fact, I don't think there's any. So it's not something I've been able to do before. But you know, we've been to the reptile centre and we've been taught how to handle an alligator, but being able to do it sort of on the fly, very impromptu, that really pushed me out of my comfort zone, being able to work with an animal like that. So, you know, that was really fun, and that definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone, but I'd do it again in a heartbeat, 100%.
It was scary just watching you do it.
Poor Charlie.
God, huge. It was probably about 5 feet. So, a bit of a man-eater, really.
There's a lot of laughter going on here, so I'm not really sure if I need...
There's genuinely, there's videos, I promise.
I need to
send you the
see
video.
He did actually do it. We're just giggling because James said he wasn't going to go home until he had like his man wrestling animal moment.
And Charlie put up a fight. She was quite a feisty girl.
She did
not want to be picked up.
a little bit, but
yeah,
Got a big puncture wound on your shoulder, didn't you?
Oh, manly scar. Yeah, but it was really good fun. Yeah, no, it was one of those opportunities which never really has come up, and I doubt will ever really come up in my life.
That'll ever come up again.
Yeah, it's definitely a fantastic opportunity to push myself out of my comfort zone.
Amazing. How about you, Grace? Can you top that?
I think for me, more being out my comfort zone was going so far away from home with people that I'd never really met before. I'd met like Nia's my best friend, so we'd gone together, and I'd met May and Shelley, but everyone else I was kind of didn't really know. I knew of them, but not them. We'd walk past Laura and Hannah and Abby in the airport, and we didn't know each other at all.
I think we were looking at you going, do you think she's a vegetarian?
I literally death stared them in the airport.
But it was so nice making such a nice group of friends, and now we've got the memories of this to just think about forever.
Oh, it's amazing. I know what you mean, though. That is definitely be one of my most daunting things about going to do a trip like this, is just all of a sudden going with a whole lot of people you don't know, and am I going to get along with them and everything. So yeah, no, it's definitely a good one. Ayla, how about you? Comfort zone. What did you manage to break?
I feel like, going on the helicopter, I'm not a big roller coaster sort of person, and that was actually really fun, so I'm impressed by that. And even just the shooting, but I'd say most importantly, just when Bossy goes, oh, does anyone want to do that? You have like half a second to decide who's doing it, and having the courage to go, oh, I'll do it, without thinking, oh, maybe someone else wanted to do it, am I taking up too much room and stuff? That's not something I'd usually do. And I'm really happy that I managed to do it for when he asked, he wanted to put a microchip in a buffalo, because that's the first microchip I've ever put, and it's in a buffalo, and I think that's pretty cool to be able to say.
Very cool.
But But going off what Grace was saying, like in hindsight, because we got along so well, I completely blacked out the fact that I was so anxious about meeting everyone, because now they just seem like good friends that we're going to keep forever and keep seeing throughout, like no matter where we are. So it feels like it was so long ago that we didn't know each other, when actually it was 3 weeks ago. Just
Yeah.
crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, because
Oh.
you spend so much time with each other, like, and there'll be times where, you know, you're waiting on animals and stuff, so we would just be sat in the car playing games and stuff, and yeah, it was really fun.
Oh, amazing. Oh, so good. And Abby, how about you? How did you feel about breaking comfort zones?
Yeah, I was really nervous because I only I knew Millie and Ayla, but I was only close to Laura and Hannah, and like we got on the flight together and we went to the airport like at the same time, so I knew them. But then meeting everyone else, I was really nervous, and I was like, I don't know what people are going to be like, but everyone was really nice. I got along with everyone, so it was really nice.
Oh, good. And Millie, anything that you managed to get out of your comfort zone with while you were there?
I think like working with such large animals and like wild animals, and having to kind of work as a team to even just like handle them and lift them up, because they're really heavy. And sometimes you have to walk with them quite far. And I think just like literally grabbing a side of the stretcher and just working as a team to move these animals, and just getting hands on and giving injections, like Ayla said, like you just have to grab the injection and do it and say, oh no, I'll get that, you get this. And yeah, not really worry too much about it and just get on with the task at hand. So make sure the animal was put first. And I think that was really exciting and empowering as a group.
Nice. Thank you. And how about you, May?
Yeah, I think again for me it'd be the helicopter. I was just so nervous beforehand because like the others, I'd not really done anything like it before. But then like the adrenaline rush afterwards, and just so glad I did it. It was so good.
Oh, amazing. So just as we start to round up now, I'd just like you guys to think of your biggest highlight from the trip. Now, it might be some of the same things that you mentioned and stuff like that, or if there's something that when you think of the trip, that is the thing that sticks in your mind, that trip. And I'd love to just go around again, and maybe start with you this time, May, and just go around and just hear, what's that thing that really sticks in your mind from your 2 weeks in South Africa?
I think for me my highlight was there was one morning we were like half of the group went to Impala farm to help move them from one like kind of enclosure to the other. Just spending just hours driving around looking for these impala in the bushes. Yeah, I just loved it.
Nice, cool. What about you, Grace?
I think for me it would be seeing lions in Kruger. That was just, I've dreamt of doing that for my whole life.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How about you, Ayla?
It's hard to pick just one highlight. I feel like there's nothing I can forget about this trip, but probably the helicopter flying and darting out of it was really cool.
Nice. Abby?
There's one day where we went to see the wild dogs and we didn't know where we were going, and we all just kind of took a drink, and the sun was setting behind them, and we got to sit and watch them. We were drinking our hand. It was just really nice.
Really nice. Laura?
I think the first day we worked all together as a group. I can't really remember exactly what we were doing. I think it was buffalo and then some sable and stuff. But it was a really busy day, and we were getting to do loads of vet work and stuff, and kind of properly get to know, because until that point we'd kind of been in our two halves, and so then we were properly getting to know the other half of the group. And also the snake. We saw a massive snake in the second week, which was good. That was really cool.
I feel like you need to finish the snake story.
The snake, we were at this reserve, and they just found, I think it killed a goat the day before, and then they just found it, and Razzie like wrestled it and caught it. It's massive, like it must have been
3.5 meters long.
Yeah, it was huge. And they put it in a bag and then put it in our truck to take it off the reserve and release it somewhere. And then we went to a farm to PD some cattle. And I think originally it was only meant to be like 3 cows or something, so we weren't going to be there that long, but then it turned into something like 40 cows, and we got back to the cars and the snake had gone.
Oh my god.
Nobody knows where that snake is now, but that was quite...
The lady who owned the farm was not pleased, and we had to spend like 20 minutes looking for this massive snake.
Oh, man.
But then as we were going to go back in the car, Bossy just went, yeah, there's no tracks of it around the car, and it does still smell of snake in the car. But why don't you just hop back in, and if you see it, just knock on the windscreen and Victor will stop. Not reassuring.
Oh no, funny. Brilliant. It is a good story. How about you, Hannah? What about your highlight?
I have so many. I think the one that really sticks out was either the rhino day, like the whole day in general, because like being around the rhinos, and then like the really nice atmosphere we had going in the afternoon, or being at Kruger and literally leaving Kruger, and I was sat between Millie and Ayla, so they all agree with me. This elephant walked probably like 6 foot in front of us, and it stopped to look at us in the middle of the road, and that was such a moment for me because elephants, I've always wanted to see one in the wild, so that was awesome.
Oh, amazing. Brilliant. And James?
Oh, there was so many, honestly. Every day was a highlight. I'd say one of the things that sort of caught me off guard the most was like the people what I went with, because like obviously you go, you know, you're going to be doing loads of vet work, and all the vet work I've done previously on placement, it's just been me by myself. So I kind of went out with the attitude of it'll be lovely to be with these people, but at the end of the day, like I don't mind working a bit independently. And yeah, like we've mentioned in the call before, like no one really knew each other too much. So yeah, no, I made a lot of special memories with lots of people, and I think yeah, that definitely took me off guard because I wasn't expecting to make as good friends as I did out there. So that would be a really lovely part of the trip for me, definitely.
Nice. And Millie, how's your signal? Are you able to answer?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah. No, I think the rhino trimming, working as a big group, and just the speed of that, and being so close to the rhinos and working together as a team, that was incredible. Along with the elephant in Kruger, that was just so close. It seemed to just like stare us down for a second, and it was pretty epic.
Amazing. So I promised at the start that we'd circle back around to one of the first questions I asked about, you know, how are you feeling now that, you know, you've done this and you've gone back? Have your perceptions changed about South Africa? You know, you're looking at the place from different eyes now, and how you're feeling. Do you feel like, you know, your view of the country and the people and everything has sort of changed now quite a lot, and you've got a better understanding of how it all works there?
I think you can't. It's the sort of thing where the only way you're going to be able to understand it is actually being there and seeing it and talking to the people that are involved in it every day. And yeah, it's completely changed how I think about conservation and everything.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I went with so many like opinions of things I've always like thought for years, and I've come away with like completely new opinions because I've seen it with my own eyes, and it's not what we've been told. And that was really like not difficult, but interesting to wrap your head around. The, you know, and like Laura says, you can't get it until you've seen how it all works.
Amazing. Anything else anyone wants to add?
Yeah, it was a truly eye-opening experience, and I think what we got to do was so special and unique that none of us will ever forget it.
Amazing, thank you guys. And then final question is any advice for anyone looking to do this trip or a trip similar, or to go to South Africa and then, you know, try and have as good an experience as you did? Any kind of advice from anyone? Anyone want to share something with you know, people like you, but a year in the past kind of thing, looking to do something like this?
Do it, because I was really deliberating over whether or not I should do it, and I'm like so glad that I did.
Yeah, it's the
if you're in two minds, just do it. You won't regret it.
best thing I've ever done,
Mhm.
100%. So I would thoroughly recommend to anybody interested.
I think it's the sort of thing, if you like, I think if I hadn't gone, I would probably never go. Whereas
Yeah.
now I have gone, I will probably go again. if I
Yeah.
can. So yeah, just go for it. And also when you're there, just like Ayla said, like just put yourself forward and just say yes to as much as you can.
There's so many opportunities you get out there that you would never get anywhere else in the world. So take advantage of them and just leap at those opportunities because they're fantastic and you won't regret it.
Amazing. Oh, such
And
good advice.
don't take
Sorry.
Boss's jokes personally, because really funny jokes, just don't ruin them by being too self-conscious. Yeah,
just have a laugh.
Yeah.
That's the other thing you've understood a little bit more now is the South African sense of humor, which can be a bit dry.
To be honest, I think it's very similar to like
Mhm.
a Brit sense of humor. So everyone thought he was hilarious.
Yeah. It's great fun working with someone who's like cracking jokes with you and taking the mic and stuff. It sort of takes the edge off it and makes it more fun, more
Yeah.
enjoyable. Not that it needed to be more enjoyable, but yeah, it really made it.
Definitely.
For it being such a big group of people, like he did get to know us all individually, I think, and because we've got our like forms that we need filling out and stuff, he could have so easily just like take them off one by one, but he sat down with each of us and had a conversation about the trip and what we got out of it and things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah. He spent more time on it than any other vet I've been with. Like he really
Oh yeah.
and he had 14 of us to do. Like
Yeah.
14 different forms. So
Each person got like at least 15, maybe 20 minutes. Like he was sat there all afternoon doing these forms. Every vet I've given it to in the past has just been like, yeah, there you go.
Don't send it back for like 2 weeks usually, do it?
I make them do it while I'm there because otherwise you never get it back.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, amazing. Guys, it's been so good speaking to you and hearing all your stories. And thank you so much for spending such a long time chatting and sharing for anyone who, is interested in your journey, but also, interested in maybe doing something similar yourself. So thank you so much. And if anyone that's watching wants to get in touch with anyone, on here and ask them some questions, you can, I'm sure they don't mind, reaching out, but you can also pop a message in the comments section underneath this video, and I'm sure someone will get back to you and give you some first-hand experience. And I know this group is absolutely, more than happy to chat to anyone about South Africa and keep talking and sharing their stories. I'm sure I could speak for them and say that that's true because it sounds like it. But yeah, any final words from everyone before we round up?
I just want to say thank you to Roger and Laura for making all this possible.
yeah.
Yeah,
Laura, you did such a good job in getting the group together. So yeah, I think a lot of the thanks and work's gone your side. So thank you so much. You put together an amazing group and an amazing experience. So well done.
Thank
I
you.
hope
Thanks guys for being so fun.
Sorry, go on.
I said thanks to everyone else for being such a fun group. I think we really lucked out in the people that came on the trip.
Yeah, definitely feel like I've got so many new friends. Like I can't believe we only met like a month ago.
Perfect. So thanks to you guys. Thanks so much. Thanks to everyone who's watching. As I said, please reach out if you've got any questions. Drop us a message, drop us a comment, your thoughts, any of your experiences as well. And thank you so much. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.